Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Tradie Business School podcast, the only podcast you'll ever need to listen to grow and scale your trades-based business and your life in general. I'm joined today with the wonderful Bryan Santos. Mate, you are looking well today. Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you. Good to see you. I am feeling better. I was coming over a cold, so if I cough or if I clear my throat, it's me getting over a sickness. But yeah,
nice. Well, I'll bring the sexy voice today because I think that I may be experiencing a little bit of that myself. Been out for a walk this morning, so I'm rocking the windswept look. So for all of you who are listening, you can just picture me with my sexy voice and windswept hair and beard. So yeah, mate, we got another cracking episode planned today. Obviously, it's coming up to the end of financial year here in Australia. A lot of people are looking at what they've performed like over the last 12 months. A lot of, many people are planning and forecasting. And obviously, we're in what many call unprecedented times. And I always love this comment because I don't think there's a time ever in history where you've been in the future, right? Unless somebody's invented a time machine that I'm unaware of. And I hear this all the time. We're in unprecedented times. But never has the economy been the way it is now. Never will it probably be this way again. Everything is always in a state of flow, always moving and changing. So the question then begs, what do we do in these times? I mean, you have plenty of conversations with our clients as I do. What do you sort of see in times like these? I'm saying in air quotations for those listening. Times like these, what are we typically seeing in the marketplace right now?
It's interesting that you bring this up and the term times like these, because times like these or unprecedented times, it's actually not unprecedented. There is precedent. It's called the economic cycles. Cycles. It's called cycles in general, right? So meaning it's happened before in some shape or form. I mean, not saying that we are hitting a recession or anything like that. And economists are.
But I wish I had some sound effects.
But to put things into perspective, 2008, 2009, I think it was when the GFC hit. So that's 13, 14, 15 odd years away. So, downturns in the economy have happened. And so it's not a matter of, geez, what do we do in unprecedented times? It's actually, okay, based on what we know or what we can control, what can we do about it? And so, in terms of, what's happening at the moment, obviously there's a lot of people, business owners, and the customers of our businesses, right, who are feeling a little bit of fear. Here in Australia, the interest rates, the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, have increased again the interest rates on the cash rate. So wages will go up, and it seems like people are suggesting there's at least a couple of more hikes in the interest rates to come. And so it's really hitting a lot of people. And talking about how the customers of business owners. So a lot of you who are listening, obviously are business owners who want to get in business as well. But a lot of you guys are in the construction trades sort of space. And, I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh, geez, like every time there's an interest rate, there seems to be less and less inquiries or less and less people wanting to say yes to my quotes, right? So I guess a few things. One is knowing that these are cycles, right? So there's peaks, right? Like the top of a mountain, you have your boom, and then you start to go down, and you have your troughs, your peaks and troughs, ups and downs. So if you look at the economic cycle or even your business life kind of going like that, what you ultimately want to do is have those troughs or the downturns a lot like less aggressive, right? And smooth them out, right? As opposed to go, oh crap, what do I do? And then, it's out of my control. Actually, there are definitely things that you can do in preparation for fear in the market, customers or customer inquiries going down and all that sort of stuff. So, which we can talk about in a sec. But That's kind of what.
I remember in and around COVID, lots of people freaking out, right? And what I typically see in downturns in any market, right? Because every industry goes through these cycles that you talk about. So yes, you're right. There is precedence. There have been downturns, there have been booms, there have been crashes, all of those things. I will always debate that no two times are the same, no two times are identical. But yeah, we can learn from the past and the fact that we know industry and the economy is cyclic. So then the question is, why do people freak out? Like, why do people go to that place, right? And like you said, touched on before, it is that fear. What I see more often than not is people slipping into this state of disempowerment, or what's often referred to as victim state, right? And it's like, oh, there's nothing I can do because the economy's crashing. Like COVID was a classic example, right? Like in Victoria in Australia, like they literally shut the state down for like, I think combined it was like 12 months in total. Like nobody was allowed to trade. And, that's a really extreme situation. But what that did for a lot of people is that forced innovation. Well, it didn't force them. Presented them with an opportunity to innovate in a way that they'd never done before.
Yeah.
And rather than what I saw a lot of the Victorian state do and the economy do was, rather than double down and work out how they could continue to trade and make money, how could they fell into this victim state and disempowerment and were a victim of circumstance instead of using it for them to go, okay, what can I do here? You saw a lot of places like restaurants and that close their doors, but a lot of them boomed because they went, okay, we're going to create a takeaway service and, options that they'd never had before, right? And I think we talked about this offline and I'd love you to talk to it some more, but it's that, what can we do to double down in these times and actually take advantage of them? For me, I always had a program with my teams that if we had downtimes, and sometimes we have downtime just because of weather, right? Like tradies and people that work outdoors, they're subject to inclement weather, extremely hot days and rain where it's, basically dangerous to work in to some degree. So we always had some level of training, some level of development that the guys, or systems and processes that we wanted to develop, that I never gave my guys days off when it rained. It was like back into the office, start drafting this up, start drawing, doing these procedures, watch this training, whatever it may be. But I'm talking about sort of a day-to-day basis. I'd love you to sort of take us in the direction of, over the period of weeks and months and potentially years of economic downturn, like how can we help?
There's a saying, right? When people zig, you zag. And some of the best business people and most successful business people actually understand this and make the most of it. So what that essentially means is, so when somebody zigs and you go the other way, it means that when the majority of people are feeling fearful, and when the majority of people are feeling like, things are closing in on them financially and the interest rates, et cetera, well, what fear does for, I would say, smart business people is that they see fear as an opportunity in business, right? Where you can see opportunities and make the most of it, and that's what I mean by when people zig, you zag. Competition are going a certain way. When they're dropping prices because of like people are more and more people, dropping prices could be the exact opposite to what you need to do, for example. Sometimes it's about a matter of being creative of what you offer and how you offer it. It might be a bit of, a better way of how you deliver things, right? Like you were saying with the the state of Victoria, like people couldn't open up their shops, so they came up with a better way of delivering their services, right? So maybe, a smarter way that you can do. And when you can do that right, you can actually not only reduce the steepness of the downturn in the economy for you or in the business, but you could potentially make that a boom for you, because when people are zigging and you're zagging, that could be really opportunistic for you.
Yeah.
how we work with our clients, I mean, this is exactly what we do, right? So yes, we help our clients with all aspects of their business, the growth, the marketing, the cash flow, of course, and the staff, the teaming, and all that sort of stuff. But where I really love it is when we talk opportunity.
Yeah.
When we see opportunity and we can talk specifics about their businesses and what's going on, what a competitor is doing, what a client's doing, how can we actually make it better based on what's happening in the marketplace? So I forgot what your question was, to be honest, Adam. Sometimes I get on a rant.
No, that's all good. It was more just around, I guess. I wanted you to go into the what people can do and look to do in an economic downturn, and what you were saying, like you answered the question. You could potentially zag when people are zigging and turn a potential lull or a trough into a peak.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's worth noting is that sometimes, the odds are stacked against you, like and I mean, no discredit to people that close their businesses and that sort of thing during those tough times. And I mean, no disrespect to people that are contemplating closing their businesses right now, because the thing is, sometimes that is the best option. Sometimes it's better to go, okay, I've made some money, or I'm profitable to this point. I can see what's going to happen. The writing's on the wall. I'm better off to close the doors and walk away right now. But sometimes it's just about survival, and the last 2 years, 3 years in particular, for some businesses, that's all they needed to do. There was always going to be an upturn on the back of coming out of COVID for a lot of businesses. And I think that's where some of the strategic planning and things that we do with our clients, it's how do we just maintain the status quo while growing slowly? You don't necessarily need these big exponential bell curves of growth right now, but sometimes it's just, okay, how do we just maintain stasis? How do we stay where we are without losing any ground? And that might be a win in this current environment.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Obviously, every business is different, and while I get excited sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, but you can do all these things, you can be contrarian, and when people think you tag, but like you said, maybe that's not the right thing for you. Maybe it is stopping the bleed, or reducing or mitigating against further losses or further declines, or in some cases, it's not even revenue or profit that goes or reduces. Sometimes it's your team members, your staff, right? Because they're struggling with, maybe for whatever reason, right? So,
well, that's a very real problem right now. The amount of people that are struggling to pay their bills weekly because, the interest rates have gone up, and therefore their mortgage has gone up. For a lot of people, 20, 30, $50 a week is all the difference, So I think, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, because that's a really interesting thing, right? When we talk about employee satisfaction and that sort of thing. And I was talking about survival before. It's really important with your employees to understand where their survival line is, right? And if they're starting to now dip below that because of the circumstances, and you have the opportunity to support them through this, maybe now's a good time to be talking to them about pay rises, right? So you can help them take the pressure, because this is the thing we see all the time, right? Happy employees, and employees that are not just surviving or dipping under their survival line, they're more productive, right? So it may be counterintuitive to pay more money in an economic crisis or an economic, not like a problematic time, but what's the cost of replacing your employees if they go looking for other work and those sorts of things? So there's a whole, interesting kaleidoscope of things to be considering right now. One, I think, do you have the opportunity, like you talked about earlier, Bryan, to grow, to number one, lessen the impact of a trough, make the trough shallower? Number two, do you have the opportunity to turn it into a peak? So we've gone through an economic issue. You can innovate and come up with a different way, perhaps a different income stream, whatever. the world is so used to doing things on Zoom now, and like Australia got a whole heap smaller because the East and the West Coast are only a Zoom call away, and same for the world, So there's massive opportunities to expand your networks and expand where you market to and how you do business and those sorts of things. The third thing is, obviously exploring with your people and being able to really step into that leadership role, like particularly if the business is doing okay or doing well even, there's an opportunity for you to support your people. And that's why we get into business a lot of the time, because we want to build a good culture. We want to build a great supportive community and be able to do things for others. So yeah, I mean, there are a few things that I can think of. Is there anything you want to add to that, Bryan?
Yeah, so I 100% agree with what you've said. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, that's an example of when they zig, you zag, right? So instead of what most people might do is that they might reduce their workforce because, the income coming through is reducing. You're suggesting, is it an opportunistic opportunity for you to invest more or to give a raise or whatever it is, right? Because
or recruit people, because there's going to be people out there looking for more money right now.
Absolutely. Because what's the number one thing we hear from business owners at the moment? It's usually around, I can't find good staff, or I can't find, keep them long enough, because there's always someone paying more or poaching them, or, the ones that I get are the dregs, or they're Now is actually possibly the time when you make the most of that, because again, your competitors might be contracting in terms of their workforce. So,
well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, there's potentially a lot of people that are going to get laid off, made redundant, that sort of thing. So, and this is the thing, like these times, boom times and crash times, there's opportunities. I think if we can get out of our own way and look for some potential solutions to problems that we hadn't considered or thought of now, then who knows? But I think we could, once again, we can talk on these kinds of topics for hours, weeks, months. I think we'll leave it there today, because, yeah, I really want people to focus on thinking outside the box right now. And I think that was something that you sort of shared offline too, is just looking for those opportunities to look at the business different. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'll wrap it up there. But if you want to brainstorm, if you want to think of some, if you're stuck and you want to do some sort of strategic planning and, think about, I mean, I would love people to challenge me to having a discussion around why they think it can't be done, or nothing can change or whatever, because I've found over the years, and same with you, Bryan, just being able to get that outside different perspective sometimes makes all the difference. So if you want to have a chat, send us an email at hello@tradiebusinessschool.com, and myself or Bryan will reach out and have a chat with you. So, mate, I think that's all I've got. Any final words?
No, I mean, other than,
see, everyone does this. You say any final words and they go, nah, hang on. So go on.
Yeah,
final words.
I'm one of them. It's more of words of encouragement in the sense that, you're not, just know that you're not the only ones who, if you're struggling or are fearful, you're not the only ones who are struggling and, feeling fear.
Yeah. I mean, no disrespect by
100%.
Saying to people,
100%.
think outside the box. But if you find yourself that you are a little bit scared and fearful, know you're not alone, and also know there's help out there. Send us an email and we'll get on a call and chat with you. So,
yeah,
mate, thanks again for being here and your wisdom and your insights. I know this is a topic that you love chatting about. Getting on the opportunities, seeing what's available out there. But mate, thanks again. Until the next show, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.